Grow up leadership.
What is up, people? It's your homie Ian back with some ideas to augment your hiring process. We hear it all the time from companies. Our greatest resource is our employees. Finding the most qualified, talented candidate for the job is often the highest priority for hiring managers. Global management consultant Titan, McKinsey & Company, in the late 90s pushed their book concept, The War for Talent, which stressed the importance of companies to continuously compete for the most talented employees. This unfortunately created highly unhealthy competition, distrust, and toxic work environments. Not to say recruiters and hiring managers shouldn't be seeking talented employees, but what's actually better for your company is focus on hiring for nice, polite, respectful folks. Christine Perras' Harvard Business Review article, How to Avoid Hiring a Toxic Employee, refers to this as interview for civility. Research indicates one toxic employee can cost a company 2 to 3 times what a top performing, highly talented employee adds to a company's profits. So, what is better than hiring a top performer is actually avoiding a toxic employee. Also, it may be easier to identify someone who could be toxic than to find and attract a high-performing superstar. Here's some tips to include in your next hiring process. Check the internets. Google your candidate. This is something that probably the vast majority of recruiters and hiring managers are actively doing, I'm sure, but I do want to call this out and remind you of this quick step. Simply Google your candidate. If anything extremely negative jumps out, this can be an obvious red flag. I'm not suggesting to stalk all your candidates and go down some social media rabbit holes, as you can probably dig up some embarrassing, awkward pic on most people, right? But if you Google your candidate and the first things that come up are some videos about illegal, inappropriate, or offensive behavior, then you've probably dodged a potentially huge risk. This was many years ago, before much of social media and Googling people became a common practice. But I still recall we had a new hire in our training class who seemed highly professional and confident, but would also share some strange things, strange statements with some of his new peers. Someone eventually Googled him and found numerous articles that he was caught up in some fraudulent and potentially illegal practices during a local political race. I mean, dude was like facing potential jail time. Needless to say, after that, our recruiters made it a consistent practice to Google all candidates. My buddy Mike, as seen on the Dr. Phil show, and for his awesome channel Leadership with Mike, talks about the long-term impacts of the current trend of recording and sharing rage quitting on social media. Essentially, in the short term, you get a bunch of views and support online, but you now have a legacy of quitting in an unprofessional way that may impact your ability for any future employment. It's a great video. Check it out through the link in the description. Peep his channel for sure. Do some quick contact tracing. Ask those employees the interviewee interacts with besides you. Quickly check with any other employees that the candidate may have interacted with while going through the interview process. If you have security staff or an admin or receptionist, ask them how the interaction went. Really, you're just looking for any red flags through rude or inappropriate behavior. You may even have the candidate briefly sit with an employee to observe the work. I still recall a male candidate indicating to another male employee which he was observing before his interview. He leaned over and said, "With all the beautiful ladies here, he feels like a kid in a candy shop." The candidate actually had a solid interview, but once the recruiter heard about the interaction, it was quickly decided not to move forward with a job offer. If at all possible, create some brief opportunities for your candidates to engage and interact with staff other than those involved in hiring. Again, you're looking for red flags like being rude, pushy, bothered, entitled, inappropriate, extremely informal. You should expect nerves during an interview, so shyness and awkward confusion is normal. On the flip side, a candidate who is extremely polite, pleasant, and engaging may add some bonus points and push a hiring manager who is on the fence to make an offer. Ask your network. Reach out to your network. I've never actually personally done this, but it sounds like a good idea. Christine Perras' article suggests to check with your network, who has previous work experience, to get some brief thoughts about the candidate. So this is beyond their stated references. If you have a network like through LinkedIn, look for those who have worked with or even worked at the same employer with the candidate, and really just ask for any thoughts or feedback. Again, you're mainly looking for red flags, any major issues that your contact may have heard of or be aware of with this candidate. I'm not sure if this step is always necessary, but if you do have a solid professional network, it may be worth leveraging that network to avoid hiring potential toxic problem employees. Again, simply ask about any major standout concerns, not for all their performance information. Just simply, did you hear about anything bad with this employee? You can always offer to return the favor to your network when they are hiring as well. These quick, simple, added steps can greatly enhance your hiring process, particularly with simply avoiding the wrong folks. Good luck with your next round of hiring. Yo, you got this.